This is Rachel Loden's I Know a Brand. Um, I'm going to go ahead and read it. I know a brand. As I said to my friend, because I am always shopping, John, I said, which was not his name, the market surrounds us. What can we do against it, or else shall we and why not buy a Jaguar XKR? Floor it, he said, for Christ's sake, 4.9 seconds to 60 miles per hour. This is, of course, a rewriting of Robert Creeley's I Know a Man, which we encounter elsewhere in the course, or halfway with the beats in the course. I mean, is this is clever? Does it? So we've just been talking about Lainey Brown and how, she seems to be doing some appreciation of the sonnet that seems to really work on a few different levels, like a spumoni ice cream. There's a kind of there's an appeal to the form, to its relevance, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a case being made for its importance, for the way that it can be intellectually stimulating, or just purely elegant, fitting on one page. I mean, what does this rewriting here of Creeley, compared to, say, a rewriting of Dunn? I mean, what is this doing for the original? Is it just clever, or does it actually have something more to say? I actually don't know. I'm posing this as a
Yeah.
question for everyone.
What it's doing for the original, that's a really good question, because I was thinking, John, I said, which was not his name, is direct from the original. And it
Yes.
really makes us think again about that original line. Like, what the fuck? Why would you bother to say John,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
not his name?
Good point, Terry. Yeah, by leaving that part intact, Loden's really calling our attention to it, which is truly the WTF moment of the poem in many ways. Any other thoughts?
Yes, I agree completely. It's very easy to recognize, to know immediately what was the original poem. It also has the same spelling, as I said, SD. It's not written with all letters. The repetition of, as I said to my friend, because I am John, I said, which was not his name, and that there are even more similarities to the original one.
Only 6 changes.
Right.
Only 6, Jenny. Is that you
Well,
tracking?
he's changed talking to shopping in the first verse.
Yeah.
Market to darkness in the second one.
Yep.
Goddamn big car to Jaguar XKR in the third one. Drive to floor it. Look to 4.9, and then out where you're going to seconds to 60 mph.
Yeah, okay.
It's just 6 places that she's made changes. I think this is funny.
Even they are quite close. The car and to rhyme with by a Jaguar XKR.
Not by a Jaguar, goddamn big car, Jaguar XKR. Yeah.
So the sound is even similar.
Mm.
Is that a good car, by the way? Because I no idea about cars. No.
You can look. Jaguars in general are considered luxury cars, so I'm assuming.
Okay.
I'm gonna Google it. Yeah, it looks like a pretty expensive sports car.
And also, she's not inside a car. That thing happens inside the car. This one, it's not inside the car.
That's
She's
true.
at a showroom. She's at a big white, very clean showroom, looking at a Jaguar.
What does floret means? Floret, what does that mean?
Floret means drive. So there is potentially they are potentially still in the car.
It's put the pedal to the floor.
Yeah, put the pedal all the way down.
Okay.
Yeah, and the salesman could say floor it. You could, because you're displaced also in the I am not the Creeley. We don't know really where we are in the Creeley also. So Jenny, what you said about the where we are is it's she's setting us in the market, but then we're elsewhere in an abstract, almost a dream of where we're going, just like look where you're going.
But we're
It's
talking
Petunias, sorry.
brand now.
Hmm?
You
We're
know,
talking what?
talking about the brand, you know, the exotic Jaguar, you know, I know a brand. I mean, you just start laughing at the title.
Yeah.
I thought it was very cynical.
Yes, it
it's-
is cynical.
Yeah, because when you the first one is from 1955, I think, really, and that was really the time when the big cars were about freedom and everything, and this is so much about you only have brands, you only have it's the floor it and go anywhere. That's only advertisement, right? It's not real anymore.
When there was a big 2008 crash, one of our great presidents of the state says, just keep shopping. And the thing is, always shopping, I think, is so important because the market, especially the market across the internet, is a dark place. Nobody really controls it anymore. It's never national or local or whatever. It's a terribly dark place. So I think it's picking it up to now. The darkness surrounds us. The market surrounds us.
Yeah.
And really, there are plenty of studies on how we are the product. That's what's being said. So the darkness, I think, is the market. And then bringing it up to date. And what's quite funny, if you're going to buy a Jaguar, you're not even going 60 miles per hour. He's going short, 5 minutes short of 60 miles per hour. So that puts them in a very low class kind of a car. So I think it's this dreams, shopping dream, always have something, a better brand, look good to your neighbors. There's this thing called fear of people's opinions, FOPO. And it means that you have to look good. You have to look like you have a Jaguar. You have to look.
Yeah.
The market wants you to look good. So
And also,
Last statement.
we've taken away, look out where you're going. And what we're saying now is go faster, that you can get from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4.9 seconds. We're just going as fast as we can.
Acceleration. It's not speed, it's acceleration.
It's acceleration.
0 to
Yeah.
60
And
in
it's-
4.9.
And it's completely changed the meaning of the thing because there's no warning to be careful now. All there is go shopping and go as fast as you can. So I think Mary's point was really good.
Yeah.
And it's just made me realise that by changing the end, it has brought it right up to date. So just go shopping, go as fast as you can. You know, go for it.
And I think there's actually so much going on here. This observation about the fact that it being about acceleration rather than speed is really fascinating, because acceleration, of course, is a measure of a rate of change. So it's like a measure of a measure. So there's this sort of element of remove to it, right? There's a term in calculus for this, but I took calculus a long time ago, but maybe somebody knows. For when you're looking at
Jeroen, what do you think about the acceleration?
yeah,
Acceleration is never sustainable.
that's okay, that's a good point.
It also refers to, in a race, kind of, you accelerate to go ahead of somebody. So it's like, it's this idea of success, and always being ahead, which is like, and that's why I was referring to the documentary called Century of the Self, which Jason recommended. And it's like a fascinating documentary about how Edward Bernays, Freud's nephew, he noticed how, Hitler used crowd psychology to, get the people, the masses to his side. And then how the opposite, the allies and all, how they worked on, and so he came back and he thought, how about using this crowd psychology in peace times? And he decided that he would propaganda is a bad word, so he would call it public relations. And he began the public relations thing. And then the tobacco company came to him and asked him, 50% of the population does not smoke because smoking is taboo, and so he said, and he launched this campaign where he got these debutantes to hide cigarettes, and then in a parade, at a given signal, all 6 or 7 of them started smoking, and those were called torches of freedom, and that kind of increased the sales of the tobacco. So it's like this consumerism, right? It's like using. So this is like. So I think this is like an indictment of, like, where the title is shifting from "I know a man," like that's what we all. I mean, we need to know like it's the connection, right, which is important. But then I know a brand, so it's like, I don't know.
Right.
And nowadays you have personal branding. You have to see yourself as a brand, and it's all.
Yeah, it's like consumerism. It's commodification and objectification, which the language poets are calling out on, right? The experimental poets.
Yeah.
Yes, and she
John
really
means-
knows a brand. Whereas in the other poem, I Know a Man,
A
the
man.
persona, the speaker does not know the man.
Yeah.
Is it John? No, that was not his name. I was wondering who the speaker is. Is it Rachel Loden? Is the speaker female? And if the speaker is female, what is this unsexy phrase? I'm always shopping. Is that what all? Sorry. It's the stereotype. Is that what all women do? But if the speaker is female, are women really interested in cars? And here the speaker is quite clear, talking about the Jaguar. And it's not a Jaguar, it's even a Jaguar XKR, so a special Jaguar, a special car.
She's always shopping possibly for a man, which is
No.
John, which is not his name.
It's a very stereotypical idea of a woman who's shopping, right?
No. The idea of John in both poems, when the police talk about John Doe, is any man. They call it Jane Doe for a woman and John Doe. So I think that means every man, John.
Yeah, that's a good, which also the sort of everyman quality, right, is also goes towards this kind of critique that Loden wants to make about the, we're all becoming brands, right? Like, but to Mark's question about the speaker, that's a good point. I mean, right, because we have two competing stereotypes that are invoked, right? One of always shopping and one of being like caring a lot about cars and the details about cars. So you have these two like different gendered stereotypes that kind of make it difficult to determine what at least what the potential gender of the speaker is, let alone who the speaker might be. Whereas it seems much
Men are increasingly the target for shopping, aren't they?
Yeah, well, everybody.
Men now do much more shopping than they did. There's all this business of fragrances for men and
yeah, of course,
for men. No, I think if you just on television advertising, there's a huge targeting of men now, which there never used to be.
Sure.
I mean, this could be two men talking about buying a car.
Yeah, which is
know.
That's how I've understood it. And I think there's a way to understand the line I always shopping in the more metaphorical or abstract sense rather than that fits more with this interpretation of the poem being about how we've all become brands or something, right? This sort of indictment of a certain phase of industrial capitalism. I'm always shopping as a kind of as a sort of statement of fact, not like, oh, I can't stop shopping, I love to go shopping, but more like like I can't help, like there's no way of existing in the world that's not in some way consuming a product and engaging in transactions, right? So I am always shopping by default. We're all always shopping, right?
Yeah.
My friend is a brand, you know, right? like we're all like, everything is so transactional. Ciao, Stanley. So yeah, maybe we can sort of eliminate some of those gendered connotations there, if we think of it that way. I'm always shopping.
But we don't know if we're in the showroom or whether we're online. We don't know where we
Yeah,
are.
we don't know. That's true.
And I don't know about
Yeah,
other
the-
people.
It's
I
all
do all my
around.
shopping
The
online.
market
Really.
surrounds us. We have the chance to shop all the time.
Right. And the market as an economic concept as well, right? Not just like the marketplace, but the market as that which as where you know, that which must be sort of protected and elevated above everything else. That's, I think, also sort of what's being talked about here, like the market.
You know
There's also
the book
balance.
A Visit from the Goon Squad?
Yeah, I just reread it actually.
Yeah, where you have in the end when you go to the science fiction part, and you have the 2-3-year-olds who are called the pointers because they got this device which
Yeah.
they pointed at something, they immediately buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Horrible, but it's very much what we're going to with this market surrounds us.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
even right here today, several of us went shopping in our minds, wanting Lainey's book.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Especially we cannot really escape. The market surrounds us. What can we do against it? We buy something. We buy the car.
yeah. But that's kind of that's a rather like insightful observation, I would say, right? Like if the market, if the logic of the market surrounds us and totalizes us and has penetrated every facet of our life, what is there to do? Like, what can you possibly do against it? You know, why
Right.
not buy the car? Why not why not just engage in these transactions? Why not give over to it?
In
Seven-
the Greeley poem, it's clear. There's darkness. What can we do? Drive off. Go to a different place
yeah.
where there is light.
There's still an outside.
What
Yeah.
can we do against it? Nothing. We continue shopping.
Metal to the metal. So what can we do against it? I haven't had a TV for years. And so I'm not bombarded with what many people have mentioned on TV in terms of advertising. It's not that I'm immune to it because it's so evident everywhere. I mean, in just everyday conversation, and if there's a brand name on my clothing, I take it off. I've done that for 30 years or more. So, you know, it's my mini rebellion. Maybe the way I do life. So I really like this poem for what it's telling us.
Yeah.
About ourselves.
Yeah, I think
class.
No, I agree. I think it's interesting. No, finish your thought, sorry.
Were you finished, CJ?
Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah. Okay, Yunia, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, I think that's a really the way, like what you're describing is kind of getting out of the kind of finding the small things, how to get out of the system. And I think it's quite interesting that this poem is not only saying you can't do anything, but maybe also focusing on the only things you can are inside the system. So I mean, they're always saying the only thing you can do is like show the, I don't know, market what you want by buying different things. Maybe buy more, I don't know, vegan food to, yeah, what the market wants is what you support. That's what is like produced more, and then you kind of influence it that way. And I do think it's kind of this like capitalist idea of just if you want to do something, you have to stay inside the system and still buy the Jaguar and kind of show what you want in that way. But it is kind of, that's why I was asking earlier if that is a good like brand. I mean Jaguar obviously, but like the XKR, I don't know what that meant. Because I'm not sure if the poem is saying anything beyond that. Like is the choice of buying a Jaguar like something maybe a bit off? Is that something people would do? Why would they buy that car specifically? It's kind of, I don't know.
It's a very expensive big car, so it's this idea of being buying something that's exclusive. So you have this idea, I'm not a typical person of the market. I'm one from the top floor, as Terry just said, in the big ship. I'm the owner of a Jaguar, so I'm not just somebody ordinary.
Okay, so the XKR thing is even like makes the Jaguar even better.
It's just a type of Jaguar, and a Jaguar is this horrible, is just overly expensive brand.
With a lot of luxurious accessories and all that, right? Yeah.
And Yunia, you could go visit the Jaguar factory because they're they're made in England.
Yeah.
And and this is the XKR is apparently, I think she used it for the sound, but
I think so
it's
too.
a smaller, it's a two-door car, so it's a sportier car. It would really be distinctive, and I don't know that they imported it into the United States, so it makes it even more exclusive.
Okay.
But also the two-door car, I mean, that fits with the two-person sort of dialogue or exchange that's happening here, right? So you sort of, you have this sort of the commodity fitting the situation quite nicely in a way. I mean, I guess the question remains, you know, to sort of build on your point, Unia, about like, have they already bought the car? So like in the Creeley poem, they've already bought the car. They're already in the car. Have John and the speaker, are they already in a Jaguar XKR and just being like, you know, they're driving down the road and being like, yeah, why not just buy a cool car like this? And then John says, floor it, yeah, let's do it. Right? Or are they like fantasizing about it? Because I mean, if they already own the Jaguar XKR, that sort of says something about their class position. Because as we're saying, it's not like a Jaguar is not the car that like normal people buy. It's a rich person car.
Max,
Yep.
the key words, the two key words in both of these poems, what can we do against it? Or we go against it, or else why not just fold and join it? That's what Junia just said. So I think you're right, Junia. Or else let's just fold. Let's just join them. If you can't beat them,
the system. Yeah, we can't beat the system. We join the system.
Exactly. I think the or else is what Junia pointed out is so important in this poem.
I think it's both. Why not by Jaguar? It's first a suggestion. They haven't bought the car, and they cannot speed off. But they say for it, he said, for Christ's sake, 4.9 seconds to 60 miles per hour. That is probably not the speed of the car. That is their own speed. They still have to buy the car, and they hurry up so that they can buy the car. It can also mean that they are in a different car, and then they drive off in order not to buy that expensive car.
But I think it could also mean they've just bought it. I think it could mean they've just bought it, and he's saying, put your foot down, see if we can do 4.9 seconds. No, we've bought it, we're in it, wow. And off we go.
I mean, it's
interesting. So that's three possible readings for that last verse.
Well, and the other two that I was proposing is that it's meta. It's the self, the brand, and so I'm just going to take the self and go off 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. Accelerate what I'm doing, accelerate myself. Could be the positive reading. Get away from this market, just off.
But
Off into my own space, be the self out here, just like the Creeley, the idea that he's not really driving, but that he is doing Creeley. We make him a brand now, but maybe it's really just his self. And then the John warns him, careful, that self could be dangerous.
But I think,
What's the brand, by the way?
The what?
What's
Pardon?
the brand? Is it the Jaguar?
The brand is the external self, this thing that that you put your name, get your name on it, the name tag in front of you.
Yes, I'm just reflecting what else it could be. What associations? I was also thinking of Greeley himself. I know a brand. I know a poet who wrote such a poem.
Yeah, it's become sort of famous and essentially part of Creeley's brand, I suppose. But to this other point, I mean, what strikes me, what I find interesting about this poem here is the very ending, where John becomes complicit, for lack of a better word. John says like, oh yeah, like floor it, like go for it, right? Which is very different from the drive, he said, for Christ's sake, look out where you're going, where John is actually this sort of this opposing voice to the speaker in the original. So in the original, of course, the speaker is always talking, and the speaker's imagining this darkness that surrounds them, but also imagining this outside of it. Like if we can use, the darkness being something like the square post-war consumer culture, which also luckily furnishes these commodities like goddamn big cars that we can use to ultimately escape that same culture, right? So there's this interesting kind of like, there's this way in which the what you dislike, the darkness, is something that can still be opposed, both within and without it, like external to it. So there's this sort of like dialectical possibility, whereas which is also, I think, reflected in the fact that John himself becomes this kind of like this other to the speaker, right? Being like, saying, you look out where you're going, we're two different people. Whereas here, the in this poem, we're talking a bit about how there doesn't seem to be that outside anymore to the darkness, because the market now surrounds us. Everything, we're always shopping, everything is mediated through the market, through brands. And I think thus it's telling that John, that there's a sort of collapse of the opposition between the two figures in the poem, that John and the speaker are essentially on the same page. The speaker says, why not just buy a Jaguar? And John's like, yeah, awesome, let's do it. There's no more, there's this recognition that it's really hard, that there aren't really ways to oppose anything anymore, right? Like if the market indeed surrounds us, it's rather
well, we don't even criticize Max anymore, yeah, do that, write those stupid poems. Yeah, they're really, I think they're shit, but I'm not going to say it out loud because that would make me look bad if I criticized you.
Right.
So yeah, just floor it. Yeah.
But maybe
What,
you can.
what if
Jaya?
Jaya and Jeroen?
No, what if, it's the title. I mean, I'm again intrigued by I know a man and then I know a brand. And what if he's saying that, and he's named the brand a specific luxury item, which is exclusive, which is like poetry, fairer house than prose. So what if the Jaguar is the poem itself? And this is what we'll drive to go against the market. That's what the experimental poets are saying, right? That this is the luxury. So I'm always shopping anyway. So, but why don't we shop for this one? Why don't we go for this one? That's poetry.
That's a really great
A brand and the man. So connecting the brand to the man, to that, like, look, I mean, if we could write poetry like that. So she's paying homage to poetry itself. to the
That's
form.
really astute, Vijay. That's really interesting. Yeah, and that also offers us ultimately then, and then this is gonna be like super modpo-ish, but like the meta
I know. It's like
possibility.
I think motto makes you keep on thinking meta.
Yeah,
always, so
yeah, and that's good because here I think that's the meta possibilities of the poem, or the meta poetry that the poem is punning on by being a
Yeah.
rewriting of a poem that is in some ways about poetry at a certain time and place.
Yeah.
You know, that is ultimately what offers the way of thinking outside of potentially outside of the totalizing system of the market that you know, seems to be so impossible to escape, right? Rather than
Yeah.
being like we need to drive away from it, or we need to criticize it, or we need to, right? There's this actually other way of thinking of sort of running a different kind of operation that's actually about like getting a different perspective on it at this meta level. That's a really cool way to think about this poem, and potentially redeem it as a poem that wants to have some positive effect on the world, and is not just a description of a really
Which is
hopeless state of
which is so kind of full of all this jargon, right? Like florid.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Right. We can again, just like Creeley, you know, got the big car from the lucrative auto industries of the post-war period in the United States, to drive away from the same sort of square Fordist culture of the time. Here we can do the same thing, right? We can use we can use the language of the market in some ways to get some purchase on it, to get some perspective on it, even though it feels like it surrounds us.
Why did she only have 6 changes? I mean, Lenny Brown only had 6 adoptions, 6 takeovers from Dunn, and changed the rest. And here it's almost the same poem, except these 6 changes. Can anyone explain?
I can't explain, but I can suggest. This to me seems rather like Lainey Brown's checkpoint one, that you don't need any more changes. No, you don't need any more lines to the checkpoint poem, and you don't need any more changes to this to transform what it's about. But I don't know if that's right or not, but that's how I would see it. And what was Jeroen going to say just now?
Yes, thank you, Jennifer.
When we were talking about if John was opposing the I about buying the Jaguar, I was thinking that you could also read the last bit like it was a bit under his breath, that he thinks a Jaguar is much too much. Florid, the car we have now, and then he said, and then under his breath, oh, for Christ's sake, 4.9 seconds to 60 miles per hour, like something we don't need. That was another way of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so that restores the kind of dialectical opposition then.
Yeah, I needed that. But the acceleration of Vijaya by going meta-poetic was much better.